Hello and welcome. I'm excited tonight about my guest. I'm interviewing the Teacher of the Year for Minnesota, the 2019 teacher. She was just awarded this great honor just a few weeks ago, so we're one of the first shows to get to sit down with her. I've interviewed, I think going back maybe about 12 years, every Teacher of the Year. And when I read my guest's references in her application material tonight, I thought, I don't think I've ever seen more wonderful letters of reference and recommendation. Jessica Davis is my guest. She's a teacher at South St. Paul High School, and she teaches math to both 11th and 12th graders. And she does a lot of other things too, but we'll stop there and let you say hi to Jessica.
Hello.
So, welcome.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to have you on. I bet you are still kind of feeling a little bit numb, or what's the word to describe it?
Yeah, you're right. It's surreal.
Surreal.
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels like a fantasy land, a dream right now.
Yeah. Did you ever, as a little girl, think you wanted to be a teacher? I mean, was that something that started way back, or how did you decide to go into teaching?
I decided to go into teaching because my mother was a teacher. So, of course, I was not going to do that.
That was on the other side of the wish list. Huh?
I actually have a degree in human biology.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I went to school to become a doctor. I did all the pre-med requirements. I did a couple of internships, and it was an internship at Mayo that I got to see the behind the scenes and how a hospital worked. It was real life, life and death situations, and I realized this is too high pressure for me. I don't think this is the right fit for me.
So really a stressful kind of world, isn't it?
It was, and it was competitive, and I just didn't think that I was going to be able to do it. So I graduated with that biology degree, and then I didn't know what I was going to do. And as I bounced around to different jobs after college, I realized I keep going back to the academic environment. I keep taking on those types of roles. I have this great role model from my mother. I think maybe teaching is my calling.
Was that a hard period to be a little bit in limbo for a while?
Yes.
I would
Especially
think
when
hard.
you spend 4 years of your life thinking, well, I'm going to
focused.
be this.
Right.
And then not knowing. And I don't know why I should have known at 22 what I was going to do with the rest of my life.
At 22, people do think that they know more than they know.
Right.
Right?
Right. And I was definitely one of those people.
Sure.
So, no, it was.
But that was courageous to be able to say, no,
Thank you.
I won't keep doing something that I'm a bit uncomfortable with.
And be unhappy with. And just knowing that it was okay to change your mind. And now, in retrospect, I see how people change their mind all the time. And it brings all this value and richness to your experiences that you bring with you to new experiences that I'm really grateful that I had that time to figure it out.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you've been teaching about 10 years, am I right?
13.
Oh, it's 13 now. So
10 years in South St. Paul.
Oh, that's the 10.
Yeah.
That's the 10. And at South St. Paul High School, what are the specific math classes you teach?
I teach 11th graders in advanced algebra. That is our version of Algebra 2. And then I have a section of seniors that are just looking for that buffer into college. It's called Survey of Math Topics. So we just cover a whole bunch of topics just to brush up their math skills. And then this year I took on a computer science course as well. So that's new to me.
So
this
you
year.
have 3 preparations.
I do have
basically.
3 preps, yes.
I think there's such a stereotype still in our country about girls in math, women in math. And do you find that some young women are hesitant to jump into math in a big way, and you need to be a bit more encouraging of them than a young man?
Good question. I don't know if that's true in math. It certainly was true in computer science. I only have boys in computer science. Yes.
All boys.
Yes. So I think it was important to have me there as a facilitator, just to say, hey, The girls in STEM, you can do it too. So hopefully next year, if the class runs, there will be the 2 combinations of students.
You and I were talking just briefly about, there was an article in Time magazine, this last issue actually, we're taping May 21st, 2019, about a math whiz. And he said it's dangerous to be illiterate in math right now in our country, in our world. And you said you read the article too. Did you? Would you say, amen, I agree with that?
Absolutely. I'm so glad that there's somebody out there that is talking about it now. I had actually brought this up earlier. Nobody would walk around and say, well, I can't read. I mean, that would be embarrassing, right? But every time I say I'm a math teacher, there is somebody who will tell me, well, I'm terrible at math. I hated math. Why is it okay for us to say that, right?
Interesting. And so what do you think? I mean, that's a
It is
true
our culture.
observation.
It is absolutely our culture. Math is always the subject that gets picked on too. If you think of all the commercials for the learning tutoring centers, and what is the subject that they use to market to parents that kids are struggling with and there's tears over,
right.
It is math. And so that's actually what had inspired me to look into writing my capstone for my master's as motivational attitude, and how does society's attitude, how does the teacher's attitude towards math, how do parents' attitudes towards math shape a student's experience towards math? And then how can we circumvent that so that they have more of a positive approach to a subject that, yeah, is hard, but life is hard.
Well, I should mention right now, while you're talking about it, that this paper she wrote ended up being published, which is unusual, isn't it?
It was
that
another
point?
surreal experience.
Yeah, I bet. It's called Motivational Attitude, and I'll hold it up, and we can maybe zoom in and get a close-up. And what was your conclusion, Jess, in terms of the things you just mentioned, in terms of the importance of the parents' attitude, et cetera?
It's all interconnected. It's actually somewhat similar to my conclusions of my diversity work this year, is that it's all intersectional, that it all is important. And it's hard to peel away that this is the one thing that makes a difference, and this is the other thing that makes a difference. It all plays a part. It's all interconnected.
And I noticed that word in your application, intersectional. It's not a word that we use frequently.
It's pretty new.
But it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was first coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, if I'm remembering correctly, early to mid 80s. And her work was specifically about being a woman is different than being a black woman, that we need to consider who is the definition for if we're talking about the glass ceiling and pay in the workforce. But then there are extra obstacles for being a black woman that you need to consider. That's with just about anything. So intersectionality is important.
Combination of factors,
Yes.
really. Yeah,
Yes,
variables.
Yes.
We use a
Oh,
math
thank
word,
you.
right?
Yes.
Besides teaching math, you've had a major role at South St. Paul High School with working with kids of color and getting them really involved in some exciting things.
Yeah.
And you're the only teacher that's African American.
I
in your
was
high
for
school?
9 years, yeah.
Oh, you are not now.
I am not now.
But
We've
you
hired her
were.
before. Yes, I was, yes.
That had to be a lonely feeling.
Thank you for acknowledging
was
that.
it lonely
Yes.
feeling?
And to be honest with you, it wasn't until my students had started to collect and have a desire to have a support system for each other that it became really apparent that I didn't have that support system. And so I needed them just as much as they needed me.
So it was rewarding, I bet,
Absolutely.
to jump in and
Yes.
work with them. And I read that in the beginning, when you started an organization that, tell me, it's called Black
The Black Pride
Pride
Organization.
Organization. Just a few kids got involved, but very involved early on.
Right.
And then it just kind of exploded, didn't it?
Yeah,
Or,
it was all student run. We spent the first month just getting together and talking about our stories and our shared experiences. And through that, the students crafted their own mission statement, which embarrassingly I haven't memorized yet. But it is all about giving students leadership roles, support in their education, and a voice for them to go out and make a movement. So they have been control of their own education and their own leadership opportunities. So once they got organized, they realized, hey, we can help out at this fundraiser, we can help out at this food distribution, we can help each other with our math homework, we are leaders in the community and we want to be seen that way. So we're going to organize and do that.
but they didn't come into the group, I'm guessing, most kids don't, feeling like leaders, did they? So what happened that got them to say, I feel like I'm a leader here, or act like a leader?
Somebody telling them that they were.
And that somebody was you, I
Or they
bet,
could,
right?
yeah. That representation matters. And so if they saw me doing something, or maybe clumsily doing something, that gave them the power to say, oh, I could probably do that. And hopefully they do, and they do it better. That's the goal. So it was slow, it was gradual, it was helping each other out, it was having an idea and then figuring out how to implement that and make that run.
And this group, Black Pride Organization,
BPO, we call it for short.
BPO, makes me think of the gas,
BP, and then,
Right.
oh, yes.
It is just for African American students.
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
It is
okay.
for supporting African American students and elevating them so that we can close that educational and equity gap. But it is really about community. So the students, when they were coming up with their name, Black Pride Organization, had kicked around a whole bunch of ideas of what do we want to call it, because we really do want it to be inclusive. And so one of the things that they had come up with was an Every Voice Matters. And that was almost the name of their organization.
Yeah, that's a great line.
It
Every
is.
voice matters.
Every Voice Matters. And it ended up being their hashtag that they used. So our sister group, Comunidad de Latinos Unidos, which is actually a year older than BPO, women's society that spawned shortly after Black Pride Organization got started. And then we just started our Sexuality and Gender Alliance group. All 4 of those affinity groups now identify with the hashtag Every Voice Matters. So it is one collective family of students who are looking for support that might have some extra obstacles or marginalized in the system.
So kids who are Hispanic are in the one group, but could join the
Yep.
BPO group too,
Yep,
or there's some
absolutely.
crossover.
And we have our white allies and accomplices that are also participating that either want to support friends or they want to learn how they can support or understand what some of the obstacles that our students of color are experiencing in education.
And these groups, meet after school?
Yep.
And once a week or every other week?
Once
or?
a week is our general meeting.
okay.
So all the students will get together. Monday nights is for CDLU, and Thursday nights is BPO, and Tuesday nights is Women's Society. And then
So,
we
and
each,
you're the faculty member
Yep.
for each group?
no, I'm just a faculty member for the BPO.
Oh, the BPO, okay.
But all the advisors for each of the groups work really closely together.
Okay.
And then all the groups have a leadership council. So all the advisors will meet with their leadership council whenever they can. So mine's tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Gosh, okay. We'll get you out of here. Well, that's really a neat thing that evolved out of your personal life and history and who you are.
I'm so proud of them.
You said to me before we started taping, Jess said, I think that my award as Teacher of the Year might have more to do with my work with the kids and the whole diversity question than my math teaching per se. Do you want to just explain that in just a little bit more thorough way?
I don't know if I can say any more about that. the kids have really just taken off in their leadership. And so they have created a movement of diversity inclusion, and because I'm the advisor of that and I'm here for them to find a way. If they want to do something, then I'll try to make it happen. And if I don't know, like I said, I might clumsily go through it so that they can see this is a possibility of navigating through the system. Nobody is running up to me saying, hey, let me solve this quadratic because this is so fun. But I do have kids coming up to me all the time saying, how do I get to be a part of BPO? And when can I go to this activity? Or when are you having the career panel? So there are kids that want to be involved.
Are appreciating this whole
They are.
part of your work there.
They are.
One of the things in some of the letters of reference that I was intrigued with were comments by other teachers who said that their feelings about being white and getting to know you better as a woman of color had shifted a lot because of your relationships. And that was an important thing too that you don't really think about when you think about starting to be a teacher.
No,
you know?
it's not. No, because it was really about the math. I love the math.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't know that my teaching career or path would lead down this way, but I'm pleased it did.
The world right now is so divided. I mean, we're all so aware of that. And I'm wondering, as a high school teacher and working with the kids in the off-school hours, do politics get in the way, or how do you deal with the political aspects of everything from, college debt to the SAT tests nowadays that we're just hearing about, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many political things going on, or things that affect us because of politics. Can you feel sort of free to be yourself, or do you need to really be careful?
I always let the students lead the conversation. I really have dug into that every voice matters. And my seniors and my juniors have been fabulous about stating their opinion, learning how to do it in a respectful manner, and then opening up the conversation to it. South St. Paul is an international baccalaureate school district. So those students have been practicing their critical thinking, their reflective skills. So they're a pretty well-rounded group of kids already. But I have no problems at any time closing the book and saying, okay, let's talk about this. So when I came back from the weekend for Teacher of the Year, and one of the questions was, are you going to go to the White House? My response was, what do you think? What do you want?
What should I do?
Right.
That was one of my questions for you too, because Kelly Holstein, who was Teacher of the Year for 2018, decided against going to the White House this spring or this year. So have you decided yet?
I haven't decided yet.
You don't need to decide
I don't
yet,
need to
do you?
decide. I'll be part of the class of 2020. So I've got some time. I think that in this current environment, there's a lot that is going on right now. So who knows in 10 months from now what the political climate will be and what my feelings will be. So I assigned it as actually a paper in my math class of, if you could address the president, what would you say? And so I had some very thoughtful responses.
Oh,
that
that's
was
a neat,
really insightful.
neat assignment.
Yeah.
A great assignment. In terms of our public school system and education, we're hearing some really worrisome things. And one of the most, I use the word shocking kind of carefully, shocking statistics is that Minnesota is the worst state in the country in terms of the achievement gap academically with our students. What do you think we need to do overall, if you could wave a magic wand and make some major changes with the system, looking broadly? I mean, this is a huge question.
That is a huge question.
But if you're just thinking outside the box and...
whatever we do has to be incredibly intentional, because the system that we're working with is 200 some years old and was designed for a population that no longer exists. When I look at my county commissioner, Angela Connolly, it's the first time in 166 years we've had a Black commissioner for Hennepin County.
Wow.
166 years. So something definitely has to be different. And something that she's doing is just starting the conversation. So we have to talk about what access looks like, who we're giving access to, how we are letting those students know that they have those opportunities. We have to be intentional about it. What would it be? I don't know. But I am really excited about having a conversation, and now having a seat at the table to start that conversation. So hopefully I can be here in a few years and tell you what I've done.
Yes, come back.
Yes.
We'll remember that promise or that offer.
Deal.
Jess, okay. Because, yeah, there's just a growing sense of we've got to make some changes.
Right.
And maybe nobody at this point knows exactly what our education lead person, Betsy DeVos, is not probably pleasing too many people in the world I run in. But have you felt any specific?
Like with the vouchers, or
Right,
yeah,
that's a
so
big issue.
Vouchers scare me because, sure, if somebody has a $10,000 voucher to choose their school, that does not mean that the school has to select them. So if a student with a voucher has any other sort of special needs, then a school might say, no, we don't want you there. So then where is that student going to go? And then when you refer to the equity and educational gap in Minnesota, who are the students who are identified that have those special needs? Where are the disproportions? Look at our suspension rates. We want students in school. So if we're at a place where we are selecting students and we can turn them away, then the students that are the most needy are not going to be getting the best services.
If they have any extra
If they have
kinds
any
of
extra.
issues or needs.
Right. So if you look at our statistics in special ed services, there's a disproportionate rate of students of color that are accessing our special ed services. Well, that costs money. So if those students are going to a school with a voucher that's only for $10,000, but that kid might cost $15,000 because of their services,
Pretty
then they
easily
don't,
too, right?
Then they don't have access. So, sorry, Betsy, it's racist.
So it's, yeah, so that's a big issue that we need to keep examining
Yes,
more
please.
closely, right?
Yes, please.
Please. Oh. Your parents, your mother, is she thrilled with
She's
what's
over the
happening?
moon. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
So exciting. That was one of the most meaningful experiences, the weekend of Teacher of the Year. She taught for 38 years, just north of St. Joe. She was in the same district her entire career, so to be able to bring her to such a huge event.
So she was your special guest.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yes.
bet that was one of the highlights of
Both
her
of our
adult life
yes,
and
yes,
yours
yes.
too, of course. What did she teach, Jess?
She is an elementary teacher, so
Oh,
she had
okay.
mostly 5th and 6th graders.
Okay.
Yes.
I remember talking to one of the other teachers of the year, and they said that the most vulnerable age to keep kids in school is maybe 8th and 9th grade. That's where there's a lot of dropout, you know, stuff going on. And so by the time you get them as an 11th grader, 12th grader, most of them, I'm guessing, are pretty firmly entrenched in wanting to graduate? Or is that a assumption?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think if a student has invested 10 years into their school, okay, 2 more years, we can do it. But I also think being 16, 17, 18 comes with a lot more responsibility, especially nowadays. So there might be little brothers and sisters that they're bringing to school. jobs that they have to work. They might be helping out with the bills. They might be helping their parents. So there's a lot of
it's not
extra.
a done deal then.
No, it is not.
So that even makes your role, though, more special, doesn't it, in a way?
We're more than teachers.
Yes. As I was driving today, I heard an NPR report about homeless students. And I was really surprised. 1.3 million kids in our school system are homeless.
Wow.
And that's a lot of kids who are really vulnerable.
Right.
And I'm sure you've got some in South St. Paul.
Absolutely. And what I love about that South St. Paul community, though, is that it is so welcoming. They always pick each other up. Our foundation gave $440,000 in scholarships. So my students are well supported, and if they need someone to go to, I know that they know how to ask for help and that they will receive it.
That's a great number, isn't it? 440,000.
Yes, it's so big I can hardly remember it.
And it's not a big town. I mean,
Right.
South St. Paul, you said, was 25,000.
Right.
Maybe. That's great.
Yeah, and it's one of the few public schools that has a foundation.
Well, we could talk and
I
talk
would talk
about
to you all day.
education, but thank you so much for coming down and sharing some of your philosophy and who you are, and I can see why you were chosen even more when I meet you, and congratulations again.
Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
great honor.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. I'll be back again next week. Until then, have a good week.